Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us for our first session of our hand and dexterity exercise class. And it's really exciting because it's the first time we're doing a hand and dexterity class through the society. So I hope we have a good time. Might be a bit of a trial and error at the beginning to see how we go. My name is Shelley. I'm a physiotherapist and a staff member at Parkinson Society BC. And today I will be leading you through an exercise program, an exercise class specific for the hand and dexterity function. So for this class, we're going to be seated the entire time because we're focusing on the upper limbs and the hand. Hopefully you all have some equipment near you. When I say equipment, I mean as in a towel, a small towel that sort of looks like this. So either a kitchen towel or tea towel, something like that. And I know that in the ad online as well, we did mention about a small pillow. So we're not going to be using a small pillow today, but I hope you do have your little towel with you because we'll be using that during the class today. So before we get started today, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. And the first thing is talking about the Parkinson Super Walk, which is coming up in September. And the walk weekend is September the 12th to the 13th. And because of the pandemic this year, the walk is, of course, not going to be a congregation event, but instead it's going to be a walk in your neighborhood, and the Super Walk itself, the event, is going to be virtual, meaning that you'll be seeing us online and you'll be doing the warm-ups with us online, but the actual walk is going to take place in your own neighborhood. So if you are interested in looking at the Super Walk or registering, you can go online to parkinson.bc.ca/superwalk. And I did put the website link onto the chat box as well, which hopefully you guys can see. The chat box should be on your right-hand side. And if it's not, it might be in a little icon at the bottom of the screen that has a little chat bubble picture. If you click on that, the chat box should pop up. And at the very top of the chat box, we've got the Super Walk website pinned onto there. And something else that's coming up as well is our research series, which we try to do every year. And this year we have our research series. The first one is coming up on July the 14th. And that one is about measuring quality of life. And then on July the 21st, we have brain changes in Parkinson's. And on July the 28th, we have identifying and predicting Parkinson's. So if anybody here is interested in Parkinson's research and finding out a little bit about what is going on in the research world at the moment, those research series sessions are quite good because they break down complex topics into something that's a bit more bite-sized and easier to understand. So you can find that on our Parkinson Society BC website. Great. I can see most people have logged on now, which is great. And we do have Alana Dillon, who is my colleague at the Society, who is going to be monitoring our chat box today. So if you have any questions, you can always type in the chat box and then Alana can help us answer them. Or if there's anything more specific, we can always talk about it at the end of the session as well. I will be reading the chat box as we go along, but I might not always be able to answer right away, depending on what it is that we're doing. So I can see somebody already made a comment on the chat box. And the question is there any evidence for TENS to manage PD tremors? The answer to that is no. So for those who might not know, TENS is basically a electrotherapy modality. So you basically stick little electrodes on your body, wherever, and it sends an electrical impulse, and it feels a little bit like prickly sensation when you have that on. And TENS is primarily for pain management, although you could say that the evidence for pain management is not that strong either. So the only real good evidence out there for TENS in terms of pain management is actually for women giving birth during labor. But TENS itself is not going to help you manage your PD tremors, I wonder if you might actually be talking about electrical stimulation. That's something different. So neuromuscular electrical stimulation is also with electrodes, and it basically makes your muscles contract. I suppose you can argue that yes, when your muscles contract, the tremors aren't necessarily there, because most of PD tremors are resting tremors. Of course, not all, but the majority of the tremors are resting tremors, meaning when you're relaxed, and when you're in a relaxed state, the tremors come on more. So yes, you could argue that if you had an electrical stimulation on your muscles and it's pulsing, it could probably stop your tremor temporarily, but it's not going to give you a long-term effect. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, we're going to get started today. So what you're going to find, oh, there's another question. Yes, it is recorded. The sessions will be recorded. So we're going to get started, and what we're going to focus on today is we're going to be doing we're first going to start with some warm up of the neck, of the entire length of the upper limbs, and then we'll get into the more specifics of the hand function today. So just follow along. Nothing's going to be quick because we're doing it in our own time. It's not about how fast you're doing these things. It's more about the quality of your movement as you're doing these things. So we'll take our time with this. I'm just going to scooch back a little bit so you can see me. Okay, we're going to start by sitting up nice and tall. Hopefully you're sitting in a chair that doesn't have arms, just because I wouldn't want you to be leaning on anything or accidentally hitting your arm on something as we start moving. So hopefully you're in a chair without arms, but if you are in a chair with arms, that's okay. Just make sure you're a little bit careful about not hitting yourself on the chair. So we're going to start by sitting up nice and tall, making sure we're right over our sit bones. And the reason our sitting posture is pretty important for our arm and hand function is because imagine if you're in a slouch position and your shoulders are already rounded, you're limiting the amount of movement you can get in the shoulders. And if you're limiting the amount of movement you can get in your shoulder, it affects everything down the chain, your elbow, your wrist, your fingers, everything's going to feel a lot heavier. So we're going to start by sitting up nice and tall, sitting right on your sit bones, lengthening your spine up towards the ceiling. And all we're going to do here is we're just going to start by rolling our shoulders back. We're just going to start by rolling the shoulders back and do a little bit of a warm up to get our body going in order to warm up the entire length of our arms, and so we can work on the hand. So we're going to roll the shoulders back and just roll them as big as you can possibly go, trying to make sure you're sitting up nice and tall as you're rolling the shoulder back. So we're not going to try to go back into this slouch position, because you can imagine as soon as you're slouched, there's not actually that much room for your shoulders to move. So if we sit up taller, then your shoulders can move a little bit more freely. Good. That's it. And from here, we're just going to reverse it. So you're going to roll forwards this time rather than backwards. And we're still making sure that we're sitting up nice and tall, because remember, as soon as you slouch, everything gets a little bit heavier. Some muscles get shorter, some get longer, and you're no longer in that sort of symmetrical position where you can move your limbs a lot more freely. Good. Okay. From here, we're going to roll the elbows back this time. So you're going to gently place your fingers on your shoulders, and you're just drawing some circles with your elbows. That's it. So again, it's not about doing this fast. We're not trying to work up a sweat. We're just warming things up to get our bodies ready to exercise our hand. Good, that's it. Drawing big circles, as big as you can, keeping the neck nice and long, body up tall. Good. And from here, we're going to extend that roll now to the entire arm. So you're going to draw big circles with your arms, going backwards. And if your shoulders are really tight and you can't go up very high, that's okay. You can go down lower. Just go as big as you feel you can, as long as you're sitting up nice and tall, because remember, as soon as we slouch, your shoulders get stuck and you're not going to be able to move very far. So we're going to try to sit up as tall as we can, even if that means you're leaning back into the backrest of your chair, as long as we're not slouching and we're trying to keep the spine long. Good. One more. Good, we're gonna reverse it now. So we're gonna roll the entire length of the arm forward in a big circle. So again, as big as you can, trying to keep your spine nice and long, keep your chest up, sitting right on those sitting bones. Good. That's it. Good, and then from here, we're gonna go back to our elbows, but this time we're still rolling forwards. So you're thinking drawing those circles with the elbows forward, as big as you can, but still keeping your spine nice and long, trying not to slouch. Good. Let's do 2 more here. Good, and relax those arms. We're still sitting up tall. We're going to bring one of our ears to our shoulder. So it's just like you're tipping your head sideways and you're stretching the side of your neck a little bit. But as you tip, you're still keeping your neck relatively long. So you're almost thinking up and over with the neck. Try to keep those shoulders down. Don't let them rise up. Good. You should feel a nice stretch down the side of your neck. So I don't want you to go as far as you can. Just go to wherever you feel that tightness and hold that for a little bit. Ideally, this shouldn't be painful. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable because you're stretching. Good. 1 more each side. We're still sitting up nice and tall, tipping one ear to the shoulder. Good. Last time. Keeping your nose forward. Good. And this time we're going to turn our nose over to one shoulder without the shoulders coming up. You want to keep the shoulders down. And you're sitting nice and tall. We're going to go to the other side. Just rotating the head to one side. Keep the shoulders down away from the ears. Just get a little bit of a stretch, because believe it or not, when your neck is really stiff and when your shoulders are really stiff, your movement in your hand is actually not going to be very good. Everything is connected. Good. Other side. One more each side. See if you can go a little bit further for the last bit. One more. And rest there. Good. Okay. This time, we're going to take one arm forward, palm down, and we're just going to wake up the feelings in our arms a little bit. So you're going to take your other hand, and you're going to start at the shoulder, and you're just going to give yourself a pat all the way down the length of your arm, all the way to the ends of the fingertips, and then you're going to come back up. So you're just going to draw some attention to your arm. You're going to just let your brain remember that your arm is there. Good. All the way to the fingertips, and then all the way back up. Good. And then we're going to flip the arm over so that your palm is facing up, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. A gentle pat all the way down the length of your arm, just so our brain remembers the arm is there. We're waking it up a little bit, and we're coming back up. Good. One more. Patting all the way down the length of the arm, and all the way back up. Good. And we're going to switch arms. The other arm is going to go forward, palm facing down. Your other hand is going to start at the shoulder, and you're going to pat all the way down, like so. All the way to your fingertips if you can reach, and all the way back up. Try and keep the shoulders down. Your arm doesn't have to be sticking up quite as high as mine. I'm just lifting up relatively high so you can see. But by all means, if you want to have your arm on your lap or your table, that's absolutely fine as well. Good. And we're going to flip the hand over and do the same thing with the palm facing up. Patting all the way down and all the way back up. That's it. Good. We're going to do one more. And all the way back up. This time, we're gonna switch arms and we're gonna just give ourselves a little bit of a squeeze all the way down towards the fingertips. It's almost like a little bit of a massage. But you're just squeezing those muscles, squeezing those fingertips, and then we're going all the way back up. You don't have to squeeze very hard. You're just giving those muscles a gentle squeeze to prep them for the work that they're going to be doing. One more time, squeezing the length of the arm. Not forgetting about those fingers, going all the way to your palm, your thumb, your fingertips. And then we come all the way back up again. Good. And then we're gonna switch arms, starting at the shoulder, same thing, giving yourself a gentle squeeze. That's it. Little squeeze all the way to the end of the fingers. Don't forget about the thumb. All the way back up. Good. And then we're going to do that one more time, squeezing all the way down. See how many muscles you can get. See how many muscles you can squeeze here. Don't forget about the thumb, the palm, the fingertips, all the way back up. Good. And rest. Okay, from here, we're going to do one last bit to wake up the arms. We're going to start with our hands in a fist. You're going to put them by your breastbone, okay? On either side of your armpits, beside your breastbone. From here, you're going to push the arms forward and spread those fingers as wide as you can go. So imagine you're actually pushing something away from you. And then from here, you're going to grab hold of something and pull it back towards you again. Okay, and again, so we're pushing those hands forward, spreading the palm nice and wide, spreading those fingers, and then you're grabbing and pulling back towards your armpits again. Good. And again, you're pushing forward, spreading those fingers nice and wide, opening that palm. Really feel that you're pushing something away from you. And then you're going to grab and pull back towards you. That's it. Let's do one more. You're going to push the arms forward, spread the fingers nice and wide, give them a bit of a wiggle. See if you can get all the fingers wiggling, including the thumb. Good, and then you're gonna grab and pull back towards you and rest. Good, okay, I'm gonna come a little bit closer so you can see my hand better. So we're gonna take one of our hands now. Doesn't matter which one you use because we're gonna do both in a moment. But you're gonna take one of your hands in front of you and it can be resting on a table if you would like, but ideally something that's a little bit higher than waist height. So I don't want it to be on your leg. It's gotta be a little bit higher. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring our hand into a fist. So we're going to squeeze our hand into a fist as hard as we can for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're going to open up the hand as wide as you can. See if you can make the skin go a bit white because of how far you're spreading your fingers. Good. Hold that there. And we go again. We squeeze, make the hand as small as you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And open the fingers as wide as you can. Spread those fingers. Good. And coming in again. You're squeezing as small as you can. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and spread the fingers nice and wide. Good. And again, squeezing in. Make the fingers and hand as small as you can. Thumb on the outside. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open. Good. Let's do 2 more. Coming back in, squeezing, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open the hand as wide as it'll go. Good. 1 more. Coming in. Go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open as wide as you can and relax. Okay. Other hand. So same thing, you want to make sure the hand is not resting on your lap, but it's got to be higher than waist height, and you can have it resting on a table if you would like, or you can have it free floating in the air. Okay, same thing here. We're going to bring our hand into a fist. So you're going to keep your thumb on the outside and you're going to squeeze. Imagine you got something in your fist and you're squeezing as hard as you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and spreading the hand as wide as it'll go, holding it. Good, and in again. As small as your hand will go, squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open, spread the hand as wide as you can. Notice how my skin has gone white because of how far I'm spreading. Yours should too. And again, coming in, we're squeezing, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open as wide as your hand will go. Good, 2 more. Coming in, squeezing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and spread the hand as wide as it'll go. Good, 1 more. Coming into a fist, squeezing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and open nice and wide. Stretch those fingers out and rest. Good. Okay, so now we're going to switch hands again. We're going to go to the first hand that we were using. And what you're going to do here is you're going to start with your hand in an open position. It doesn't have to be wide, but just an open position. And ideally, your fingers shouldn't be together. You want to just have a bit of space between your fingers. So almost imagine like you've got little lights at the ends of your fingers and they're pointing outwards and you want to shine the light outwards. From here, we're going to do some finger and thumb opposition. So you're going to first bring your index finger to your thumb without the other fingers curling in. So you're going to try to maintain the lights shining in different directions as much as you can. And you're going to bring the index finger in to touch the tip of the thumb. So it's okay if they curl a little bit, but I don't want to see them come in like that. Okay, good. So index finger to thumb. Good. And then from here, you're going to open up the hand back to the original start position. Okay. And then we're going to go middle finger to thumb. Your fingers will probably curl a little bit, and that's okay. As long as they don't point all the way down, you still want them pointing outwards. And then from here, you're going to open the hand back up. Good. And then you're going to do ring finger to thumb. Good. And then you're going to open back up. Good. And then you're doing little finger to thumb. Good. And then you're opening back up. So sometimes the fingers at the end are the hardest ones, but we're going to do that again. You're going to start at the beginning with your index finger to thumb. Good. And then you're going to open the hand back up. Good. Middle finger to thumb and opening back up. Good. Ring finger to thumb and opening back up. Now little finger to thumb and opening back up. Good. We're going to do that again from the beginning, except we're going to do it a little bit quicker if you can. If you're struggling with the opening and index finger or middle finger, ring finger, little finger to thumb, you can do it slower. But for those who find this pretty easy, I would like you to challenge yourself and see if you can do it quicker. But as you're doing it, what I don't want to see is this. Like that, right? You want to always open your hand back up in between each one. So if you're doing it quick, it needs to be like this. You need to open it back up each time. Okay, so we're going to start from the beginning. So I'm going to do it slower, but if you want to do it quicker, please feel free to do it quicker as long as you open your hand back up. So here we go. Index finger, and we're opening back up. Middle finger, opening back up. Ring finger, opening back up. Little finger, opening back up. We're going to reverse it. Little finger, opening back up. Ring finger, opening back up. That's it. Middle finger, opening back up. Index finger and opening back up. Again, a little bit quicker. Index finger, open. Middle finger, open. Ring finger, open. Little finger, open. Reverse. Little finger, open. Ring finger, open. Middle finger, open. Index finger, open, and rest. Good. Okay. Same thing. Other hand. So we're going to start with the hand open. So remember, fingers not touching. You want to open the hand back up, and you want to really imagine those lights coming out of the ends of the fingers, and they're shining in every direction possible except for downwards or in front of you. So they want to spread them out. So from here, we'll do it slow. We're going to go index finger to thumb, maintaining the other fingers' positions. So they'll probably curl a bit because that's natural, but as long as they're not pointing downwards and they're not curling in, okay? And then you're going to open the hand up. And then we're going to do middle finger to your thumb, and you're opening back up. Ring finger to your thumb and opening back up. Now little finger and opening back up. Same thing from the top. Index finger, keeping the other fingers pointing outwards if you can, opening back up. Middle finger, even I'm curling my fingers in, and opening back up. Ring finger, opening back up. Little finger, opening back up. Again, index finger, opening back up. Don't forget to open up between each one. Middle finger, opening back up. Ring finger, opening back up. Little finger, opening back up. Good. Okay, we're going to speed it up a little bit now. So if you want a challenge, you can feel free to do it as quick as you want, as long as you're opening your hand back up each time. So remember, we're not doing this, right? You want to open the hand back up each time, okay? So I'm going to do it slower, but for those of you who would like to do it as quick as you can, as long as you open the hand in between each of those, absolutely fine, okay? Ready? Here we go. Index, open. Middle, open. Ring, open. That's it. Little finger, open. Reverse, little finger, open. Ring finger, open. Middle finger, open. Index finger, open. Again from the top. Index, open. Middle, open. Ring, open. Little, open. Reverse. Little finger, open. That's it. Ring finger, open. Middle finger, and index finger. Good. Again, index, open. Middle finger, open. Ring finger, open. Little finger, open. Reverse. Little finger, open. Ring finger, open. Middle finger. That's it. Last one. And rest. Good. If that was quite difficult for you, don't worry, it's hard for everyone. And you don't have to do it quite as quickly as me if you don't want to. But of course, if you want to do it quicker, you can. It's about working at our own pace, because you'll find that when you first start these exercises, your fingers are just going to feel so stiff and it's going to feel very difficult for you to move. But over time, the more you do them, the more agile they get. So don't worry if you're somebody who thinks that this is really difficult already. That's absolutely fine. Do it at your own pace. Okay, next one we're going to go back to our first hand. We're going to make some numbers now. So we're going to start, so we always start with the hand open. So we never start with the hand in or with the fingers together. We always have them slightly open. So we're going to make the numbers 1 to 5 on our hand. So we're going to start with the number 1 by curling all of our fingers in except for our index finger. And you're going to think about, just like before, whenever your finger is up, you're thinking about the light at the end of the finger and it's shooting right up towards the ceiling and out around the room. So you never want the tips of the finger to point down or forward, okay? So you want them right up if you can. So here's the number 1. Ooh, move it to the middle. There you go. Number 1. From here, we're going to move our fingers to the number 2. Noticing how my fingers are open. They're not in, they're open. The rest of the hands are, not hands, the rest of the fingers are still together. From here, we're going to do the number 3. So remembering all the fingers are separate and you're thinking about imagining that light pointing outwards at the ceiling. Good. And then we're going to go for the number 4. Good. Still spreading the fingers. And then we're going to go for the number 5. Good. And then we're going to start again from the beginning. Number 1. Number 2. Making sure you don't move the other fingers as you switch your fingers, right? So you want to make sure your finger stays up when your middle finger comes out. Good. And then number 3, keep the 2 fingers you've got up where they are and try to open up that 3rd finger. Good. And then the number 4. So thumb is still in. So you'll notice my thumb is going towards the little finger. And then you're going to open up the thumb to make the number 5. Good. We're going to start again from the beginning. Number 1, keep the finger up as you open up to number 2. Good. Keep those fingers up as you open up to number 3. Keep the fingers up as you open up to number 4. Notice my thumb is towards the little finger. And then you open up into the number 5, spreading the hand nice and wide. Good. From the beginning again. Number 1. Keep the finger up as you go for number 2. Good. Keep the fingers up as you go for number 3. Good. And then you're going to go for number 4. And then opening up the thumb to number 5. Good. We're going to do that a little bit quicker now. And we're going to also reverse it when we're done. So we're going to go number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5, and reverse. Number 4. Number 3. Good. Number 2. Number 1. And rest. Again, from the beginning. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5, and reverse. Number 4. Number 3. Number 2. Number 1. Good. You'll probably notice my thumb is always on the outside of these fingers. Can you see that? My thumb is on the outside of the finger. So again, number 1. Number 2, notice how my thumb is still on the outside. Number 3, my thumb is still on the outside of my little finger. Number 4. Number 5. Good. Reverse. Number 4. Number 3. Notice how my thumb goes on top. Yeah. Number 2, my thumb goes on top. Number 1. And rest. Good. Other hand. Anybody tired yet? Okay, so remember, when we start, we never start with the hand together and never with the fingers curled. So fingers up, hands away from, or fingers away from each other. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go for number 1. Good, pointing up at the ceiling. Number 2, so thinking about imagining those lights pointing outwards. Number 3, lights pointing outwards. Number 4. Number 5. Good. From the beginning again. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Good. From the beginning again. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Good. From the beginning again. Number 1, notice my thumb is on the outside. Number 2, my thumb is still on the outside of the fingers. Number 3, my thumb is still on the outside. Number 4. Number 5, good. We're gonna reverse it. We're gonna go number 4. Number 3, my thumb is on the outside. Good. Number 2, my thumb is on the outside. Number 1. Good. From the beginning again. Number 1. Number 2. 3. 4. 5. Good. And we're going to reverse. Number 4. 3. 2. 1. Good. Again from the beginning. Number 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. Good. And we're going to reverse. Number 4. 3. 2. 1. One more time. 1. A bit quicker. 2. 3. 4. 5. Reverse. 4. 3. 2. 1. And rest. Good. So you can't see this, but I actually have a table in front of me. So if you're like, oh, my shoulder is very sore holding my arm up, don't worry. You can rest your arm on a table as long as we're sitting up nice and tall and we're not slouching or leaning to one side. So not to worry at all. If your arm is hurting you, please feel free to have it resting on something. Okay, we're going to take our little towel now. So I've got a little towel you can see here. So I've got a table in front of me. I'm just going to leave the rest of the towel down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to one corner of the towel with one of my hands. So what you're going to do here, it's a pretty difficult one. So I'll give you a modification. But you're going to start. So I'm holding on to the towel, you can see. And what you're going to do here is you're going to try to use your fingers and you want to scrunch up the towel towards your palm as much as you can. So you're really using the fingers and the thumbs to pull the towel in, almost like you're trying to scrunch it into a little ball as much as you can. Now, if this is really difficult, don't worry. What you can do here, you can see the table. What you can do is you can use the table to help you. So you're still going to hold on to the end, okay? And you can use the table to gather up the towel. And you're going to try to get it into a ball as much as you can. Of course, it's harder if you don't use a table or a lap, okay? And then from here, I just want you to spread it out again, or you can shake it out and go back to the beginning and try again. So you can use the table if you would like, but it's a lot more challenging if you don't use the table. So you can see me doing it. If I'm not using a table, doing it this way is much more difficult. So try, if you can try not to have your hand being supported by anything. And of course, it doesn't have to just be the table that's supporting you. If you were to use your arm or your body and you're scrunching that up, it's of course a lot easier. It's the same as using a table. But of course, if it's really difficult for you to do it freehand like this, feel free to use a table or your shirt or your lap or something else to help you. Because the idea of this is we're trying to get those fingers moving separately in order to try to pull the towel up into as small of a ball as you can. I know we all hate this one already. And then when you get to the ball, you're going to try to shake it out and restart. See if you can do it for a little bit longer. Really try to scrunch the towel up into the ball. So you're probably very thankful that our towels we're recommending is a small kitchen towel, not a bath towel, because that would take a little while. So you can see I'm cheating a little bit. I'm turning my hand. Ideally, your palm should be down the whole time, because then you're using gravity to make it more difficult. Whereas if your hand is up, it's a little bit easier to scrunch. Good, that's it. So I'm trying to scrunch the towel up into as small of a ball as you can. Ideally, palm facing down, because if you go this way, where the palm is up, it's a little bit easier, because in gravity is just pushing the towel down into your palm. Okay, let's try it one more time. Scrunching it up, moving your fingers. You'll probably see here, what I'm doing is I'm using my fingers to pull it into my palm, and then my thumb grabs hold of whatever my fingers have already held on to, and so the rest of my fingers can open, and then I restart. Grab, use my thumb, and pull. Grab, thumb, and pull. So you don't have to do it that way, but that's sort of a way that I found to be the most useful to do, rather than just using your two fingers. You want to try to use all of your fingers if you can. Good, and shake it out. Whew, let's do the other side. So let's do the other hand, same thing. You're going to use a corner of the towel. You're going to hold on to the corner, and you're going to use your fingers, and you're going to try and scrunch up the towel into your palm. And you're going to try to make the towel into as small of a ball as you can, depending on how big your hand is. Sometimes you just get stuck, but that's okay. Keep trying to make it as small as you can possibly make it. And when you can't make it any smaller, open it back out and we start again. So again, with this one, if you need to use a table to help you, or you need to use your shirt, your chest, your stomach to help you scrunch up, that's fine as well. But of course, doing it freehand like this is a lot more difficult. Just give it a good try, whatever works for you. And remember, it's not about speed. We don't care how quick you're doing this or how many times you can do this. I just want you to get the movement going in your fingers of trying to isolate the finger movements and scrunch up the towel as much as you can. Okay, and then if you finish that, you can restart again. Good. This one is always very hard. It always looks a lot easier than when you actually do it. Then it's a lot harder than it looks. Good, as small of a ball as you can, and then shake it out. Good. Anybody else's hand sore? The muscles are probably starting to get quite tired in the hand by now. Keep going, as small as you can make the ball, as small as you can scrunch the towel, and then we're gonna open back out. Good. Let's see if we can do a couple more. So you're using all of your fingers if you can. So we want to avoid just using two fingers. You want to try to use as many fingers as you can, using a table, your leg, or something to help you support the hand is absolutely fine. You can scrunch up the towel with your hand against something, which makes it easier. But if you do it freehand, it's a lot more difficult. Good. I'm going to try one more here. I'm going to scrunch it up. Good. As small as you can possibly make the towel. And then you're going to let it go. Good. Okay, next. We're going to take our towel and we're going to fold it into a long sort of shape like so. And what we're going to do here is going to practice some wringing action. So imagine this towel is soaking wet and you're trying to wring it out to dry off a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to start at one end of the towel. Doesn't matter what end, but one of the ends, not in the middle. Take your hands and you're going to wring as tight as you can, as much as you can, Good. And then you're gonna move slightly further down the towel and do the same thing. You're gonna grab and you're gonna twist your hand in the opposite direction from each other. So imagine the towel is wet and you're wringing it out. Good. And then you move down the towel again. You're gonna grab and twist in the opposite direction, trying to wring out the towel. We're gonna go all the way to the end of the towel. So you can imagine if your towel is really big, like if you're using a bath towel, this is gonna take a lot longer than if you were to use a little tea towel or a kitchen towel. And twist. Good, all the way to the end. And you're gonna twist. Good, and then now we're gonna go all the way back down the towel again, but we're twisting the other way. So if I'm wringing this way the first time, I'm gonna wring the opposite way now. I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm gonna go the opposite way now, all the way back along the length of the towel. So really grab and imagine it's wet and you're wringing that towel. So you gotta really get a good grip on that towel as much as you can. And wringing that towel out as much as you can. Get every last bit of water out of that towel. Good. All the way to the end of the towel. Good. And then we're going to do the same thing again, all the way across. But remember, we're going the opposite way. So just now I went this way. So now I'm going to go the other way with the wringing of the towel. Good. So you're really trying to, you're twisting your fists in the opposite direction from each other, basically. All the way down the towel. Try not to skip anywhere along the towel. You want to get the full length of the towel. So really imagine that towel is soaking wet and you got to get every little last drop of water all the way to the end. Good. All the way to the end. Good. And then we're going to go all the way the other way again, but we're twisting the other way, right? So you always go opposite direction every time you get to the end of the towel. Good. Really grab and twist. Making sure as you're twisting, we're not just twisting one hand, right? You want to get both hands twisting. Get both hands twisting equally. Because I think sometimes we like to bias our good hand and we only use our good hand to twist, but really you want both of the hands to be twisting equally in opposite directions. Good. All the way to the end. Good. And rest. Okay. So now, last bit before we do a bit of a stretch, we're going to take the towel, we're going to take both hands, and we're just going to scrunch up the towel in our hand. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see me. You're going to scrunch up the towel into a little ball, and then from here, you're going to throw the ball up and catch with one hand. Notice here when I catch, my palm is down. So I don't want you to catch this way or this way. I want you to throw it and snatch down. So think palm down. You're catching it as it comes down. So try that again. You're going to keep switching hands. So you throw it up, catch with one hand, palm down. Okay, back to both hands. You're going to throw it up, catch with the other hand, palm down. And again, throw with both hands, catch with one hand, palm facing down. Again, you're going to throw it up, catch with one hand, palm facing down. Good. And you can do this at your own pace. It doesn't have to be very quick, but you want to try to catch it with your hand, palm down. Okay, so you're throwing with both hands, catching with one hand, making sure that you're alternating hands and we're not just biasing one side, right? Good, we're going to throw the towel, catch, palm down. Good. Okay, again, we're going to throw, catch with one hand. Okay. Throw, catch with one hand. One more. Going to throw, catch with one hand. Now, we're still going to throw and catch, but we're going to catch sideways this time. So you're going to take the towel, scrunch up into a ball. You're going to throw it up. You're going to catch sideways. So see how my hand here, I went this way, I caught this way. And you're bringing it back in. You're going to catch with the other hand this time. I'm gonna throw up, catch. So notice how I'm going sideways on my catch. Other hand again. So keep switching your hands. We're gonna throw the ball, catch sideways. Good. I'm gonna throw that towel, catch. Okay. Keep trying. I know this one is sometimes a little bit difficult. It's a bit of a hand-eye coordination one. But the idea is you're throwing it and you're opening the hand and then you're catching it, grabbing, you're closing the fingers around the object. Good. You might find the swipe across is a little bit easier than the downward catch that we just did. Good. I guess a little bit of reflex training here too. So we're gonna throw, catch sideways. Good. Let's do a couple more. Good. See if you can do one more each side. Good. So making sure you're actually throwing the towel up, right? We're not just letting it drop like this. We're throwing it and catch. Good. And let's put the towel aside. Okay. We're just going to bring our arms forward like so. And you're going to sit up nice and tall. And you're going to just bring your elbows back, squeezing your shoulder blades together at the back, spreading your chest nice and wide, and then bringing the arms forward again. Again, elbows back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and bring your arms forward. One more. Elbows back, squeeze the shoulder blades, and bring the arms together. You're going to clasp your hands together, or you can hold your wrist, whatever is easier. And you're going to, I'm going to turn sideways, you're going to bring the arm forward, and you're going to imagine someone's pulling your arms away from you and pulling your chest in the opposite direction. So you're really rounding your back, pushing your breastbone all the way back in order to stretch across the shoulder blades. So you should feel a stretch across the upper back. Good, coming back up. Let's do it again. So imagine someone's pulling your fists away from you, but at the same time, you're pushing your chest away from the arm as much as you can, pulling that breastbone backward. Good, and coming back up. And from here, we're going to drop the arms down by our sides, sitting up nice and tall. Shoulders coming up to your ears, squeezing as tight as you can with those shoulders, and drop them down. Good. Again, squeezing those shoulders up as far as they'll go. Squeeze, 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 and drop. Good. Again, up to your shoulders, squeezing as tightly as you can, and drop. Good. We're going to do a bit of a spine twist. We're going to bring our hands into a prayer pose, sticking the elbows out to the side without the shoulders coming up. From here, we're going to place our hands right on our breastbone, and we're going to rotate our chest over to one side. So you're thinking about it's not the arms moving, but it's your arms are stuck to your breastbone and you're moving the whole breastbone. That's it. And we're going to go the other way, shoulders down, twisting that spine. Good. And in. Let's do one more each side. Really sit up tall. Feel that stretch in your trunk. A nice rotation. Good. Last one. Rotating. Good. This time, you're going to take your hand. You're going to grab hold of your elbow, like so. And then you're going to take that elbow and you're going to pull it across to the opposite armpit. So in this position, you're stretching the outside of your shoulder, pressing that shoulder away from your face. Good. And we're going to do the other side. So you're going to take your other hand, you're going to hold onto your elbow, and then you're going to take that elbow and bring it to the opposite armpit, shoulder down away from your face. You should feel a stretch on the outside of the shoulder. Good. and down. We're going to bring our hands in together like so. So my fingers are together. And you're going to spread like this. Spread the fingers out, keeping your palm together so you can see my hands are together. And then you're going to close the fingers. So I want you to do your hand and have that movement this way. But the reason I'm turning my hand sideways is just so you can see. So fingers together, palm together, keeping your hands together. You're going to open up the hand, spreading that nice and wide, and then back in. Good. Again, nice and wide, and opening it, or sorry, closing it back in. Let's do one more. Good. Now your hands back in together, and we're going to just do a little bit of a breath of air in our hands. So we're going to breathe in. Let our hand expand, fingertips still together, and breathe out. So it's almost like you're trying to recreate the movement of your lungs with your hands. Again. One more. And give yourselves a round of applause. You did your first hand and dexterity class. Well done. I hope that was some fun. I know some of the exercises are quite difficult, but hopefully that's fun. And I did see a question about what you need for next week. So when you signed up for the class, in the class description, it asked you to prepare a tea towel or a kitchen towel, so a small towel, and then a small pillow. So not a full-size pillow, although you could use a full-size pillow as well, but the pillow I'm thinking about is roughly around that size, so like a little couch cushion. Because next week we will be using the towel again, but we'll also be using the little the cushion, the pillow for some of our exercises as well. So I tried to make this as equipment free as possible so that they're things that you can always reproduce at home, and you can always practice these exercises at home as well, because you don't need special equipment necessarily to be able to do hand and dexterity exercises. You can just use household items. So make sure you have a little tea towel and then a little cushion as well for next week would be really good. Small pillow size, exactly, yeah. So, I mean, although if you wanted to use a full-size pillow, that's fine as well, but it might be a bit easier with the small-size pillow, just like how today is a lot easier to use a small towel versus a bath towel. If you were doing this, you'd be there forever. So kind of the same idea, you want a small pillow, but of course, if you only have a big one, that's fine as well. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to type in the chat box, or you can email us if you think of anything during the week. But the session is recorded, so you can revisit the class in your own time if you would like. So hopefully that was helpful. Oh, there's another question that said, how small the pillow? So pillow, imagine same size as your tea towel is fine. A little bit bigger is fine as well. So anything that's smaller than a full-size pillow, but of course a big pillow is fine as well. Okay, well, hopefully that was fun. If anybody has any comments or feedbacks, we would love to hear from you, because it would help us target our class a little bit better in the future. It's the first time we're doing a hand and dexterity specific exercise class. So it is a little bit of a trial and error and see what works for everybody, because of course, everybody will be at a different level. Some people want to improve their writing. Some people want to improve their ability to do buttons. So it's very vast with what you can do with dexterity. So if there's anything specific you would like to work on, send us an email and I'll try to incorporate that into our class as well. So someone has a question that says, first question is, where do you revisit the class? So after the series is done, the recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is Parkinson Society BC, or on our website. And usually it's about a week after the series end is when we can upload the videos to the website. So visit the website after the series is done. If you don't see it, send us an email and we can send you the full link as well. And then the other question is, does printing writing practice help with dexterity? Absolutely. So if you're someone who wants to practice writing and that's your main issue, what I would suggest is if you get a notebook from like the dollar store, and you know, notebooks with lines, so kind of like that. But if you get the ones that are for grade school, when people are learning to write and it's relatively big, start with those, and you can see that there's lines on the paper. And basically, as you write in the line here, you want to just try to touch the top of the line and the bottom of the line as you're writing. So you want to try to fill your words in the top and bottom line as much as you can. And when you first do that, you want to make sure you write nice and slow, because what happens is the quicker you start writing, the smaller it gets, and then eventually becomes a little line. And part of that is that bradykinesia kicking in. So the bradykinesia, meaning that your movement is slower. It doesn't just mean your movement is slower, but it also means your movement decreases in amplitude in addition to it being slow. So if you're trying to write as quick as you can, that's when the bradykinesia kicks in, and then you start going smaller and smaller until it's a line. So start with having a notebook with lines on it. Ideally not like this to start with. You want bigger lines, so something that kids will use in grade school, and start by doing slow, but having your letters touch the top of the line and the bottom of the line as much as you can. And then as you get better at that, you can start making it a little bit quicker, and then you can start making the line smaller and smaller until you can get to a normal line size like that. But start big, start slow, and then gradually increase that. So another question is, does one class carry on in sequence to the previous one? Okay, so I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean as in, does the class progress in terms of skill level? If so, then the answer is yes. So with every week, we'll build on the skills that we learn. So today we did a couple of global things, so general hand and dexterity things, but we'll start to focus more on the specifics of it as the classes go on. So you'll still see similar exercises every week, but they're just going to be growing a little bit more to make them slightly more challenging, or adding on variations of certain things that we've done today. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so someone else also wrote about an injury in the shoulder. So that's fine. If you have an injury in the shoulder, especially if it's something like a rotator cuff, depending on how serious it is, but generally a rotator cuff tear, it gets better by itself anyway as you start strengthening. So some of the fibers might repair, some of them might not, but regardless of that, you can still live a completely fine life even if you've had a rotator cuff tear in the past. You need to strengthen the shoulder, which this class is not for, but you strengthen the shoulder, you can find a physiotherapist for that, and then you get the shoulder stronger, and then you'll find you actually won't have pain anymore, and you'll be able to weight bear on the arms again. But if you're finding shoulder is a big issue for you in the class, don't worry. When you're doing the exercise, you don't have to stick up your hand. You know, you don't have to do everything with your hand in the air. If you don't want to, you can rest. So you see my table, you can rest your elbow down as you're doing these exercises. You can rest your hand down as you're doing the exercises, or you can rest it on your lap. It doesn't have to be up in the air. So please feel free to modify your exercises to whatever you're comfortable with, because at the end of the day, the class is a hand and dexterity specific class. So we're not here to work on anything specific with the shoulders. So if you are having any issues with the shoulder, just be a little bit mindful that you can modify it. Or if you want more specific modifications, you can, of course, type in the chat box, and then we can always talk about it as well in the class. Excellent. Great. Okay, excellent comment about enjoying my class. I'm glad to hear. And it's good that you also found the writing and the bradykinesia helpful with the explanation. So another question here says, if it's a progressive class, will you be able to provide some exercise sheets to do in between the weeks? Sure. So maybe what we can do, so it's because there's quite a lot of people signed up for this series, it'll be a little bit difficult to email everybody. But what I might do then is, it probably would be helpful if we upload the video, I would think. I'm just trying to think how we can do this. Okay, tell you what, next time we do our class, I'll upload a little handout in our chat box. So in our chat box, there is a handout function as well. So I'll put a little handout on there with some pictures of the exercise that we've done. And with every class, we can have a different handout, and you can take the handout and you can practice that in between the classes as well. And hopefully that's helpful, because the videos won't be uploaded onto the website until the entire series end, just because it takes a while for us to upload the videos onto the website and the YouTube channel. But I'll try to do a handout for next time. Hopefully that would be okay. So it does mean that you won't have anything this week, but if you can, sit in front of a mirror, practice opening and closing the hands, practice touching each of your fingers to your thumb, practice making numbers. You can even practice sign language alphabet with your hand and try to recreate those movements. So anything that gets your fingers moving separately from each other is great. So I'll try to have a handout ready for next time. Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining our class, and I hope it was helpful, and I look forward to seeing all of you again next week, same time, same place. If you could feel the twisting in my shoulder as I practice. Okay, so you can feel the twisting in your shoulder as you practice it. Is that what you mean? So that's fine. If you probably feel your shoulders working anyway, because you're lifting up your arm and you're rotating the arms. But if you want to have the arm down on the table, so resting your elbows down as you're twisting it, that's fine as well. So that way it takes a little bit more pressure off your shoulder. In your thumb, you feel in your thumb as you're twisting. Yeah, that's fine. So as you're twisting, you're of course grabbing onto the towel and your whole hand is twisting. So ideally, you don't want to just use your thumb and twist. So think first, grip the towel, and then the movement is coming from your arm. So it's coming from your wrist. So you can see my wrist going back and forth. So it should be coming from your wrist, but trying to maintain the strength of the grip while you're doing the twisting from your wrist, and it's a bit from the shoulders as well. Okay, time flies. So we're going to end the webinar here, but if you have any more questions, you can feel free to send me an email and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities, or next time you guys come for the class, I can try to answer the questions as well. Perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And thank you very much, Alana, for being here and helping us monitor the chat box. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next week. Same time, same place. Make sure you have a little tea towel ready and a little pillow. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Have a good afternoon.